President Trump's meeting with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping. Xi has launched a major crackdown on the country's Christians. Joining us now to discuss is Kay Rubacek, author, filmmaker, and China human rights advocate. Good morning, good afternoon, Kay. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Kay, as we heard, Chinese authorities recently arrested dozens of members from a Christian church in, I believe it was a nationwide crackdown. It's ironic, China's own constitution supposedly guarantees freedom of belief. How does this crackdown fit into perhaps broader human rights violations there in China?
Unfortunately, it is just part of how the Chinese Communist Party has treated its people and their wish to have freedom of belief for more than 70 years. So the Communist Party itself has its own constitution, separate to China, the country. And the Communist Party requires that it is higher than God or any other deity in all of China. So any Christians who are trying to worship, say, an original Bible, they're not allowed to do that if they're trying to put God above the Communist Party, which is part of Christianity, being above God, being above any political state, they will be persecuted. So the Chinese Communist Party has not changed their stance, even though on paper it might look like they offer some freedom of religion, but it's all within the requirements of the Communist Party, which is a one-party rule over the whole nation. That just hasn't changed.
It's just incredible, Kay, to see this continuing after so many years. Kay, President Trump is in Asia. It looks like he'll meet with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping. But it seems human rights have not been a core topic during any recent trade negotiations. Why do you think that is?
Well, in 2020, President Trump had said that he was delaying human rights and not bringing that to the table with trade deals. I think all of us are hoping that he will do that this time, but it's just not looking likely. China is a one-party state. It is not like dealing with other countries that have more open democracies. So China also puts these requirements on all trading partners that they are not allowed to so-called interfere with internal affairs, as they put it. And so much of China's human rights abuses are just towards its own citizens. Billion of people, and their human rights are sorely lacking because of the Communist Party. I think America, we should have learned after decades of engagement with China that failed in improving human rights in China. We really have to do something different this time.
We know the regime leaders are very afraid for their reputation should these human rights abuses become even more public. Kay, if you were along with the president and his entourage, perhaps how would you advise them on how these human rights abuses could potentially factor into any U.S.-China trade discussions?
Well, I would hope that the president is looking at not only the American benefits from these deals. I know that he's definitely trying to follow the mandate he's been given of making America strong and great again and improving the economy and looking at deals that are going to benefit America and American businesses. So that is something that he needs to do. But I would be asking him, and I think all people who believe in human rights are asking President Trump to please consider the people of China. The people of China is not the Chinese Communist Party, but the Communist Party tries to make the world believe that China is the Communist Party, which is like saying that America is the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. It's not. And in China, we really have to deal with that country in a different manner to every other country. And I think with the way President Trump has handled peace deals, he's done such a wonderful job. But China, we're looking at internal human rights abuses, and it's not the same as doing peace deals between countries. These are human rights, very serious abuses happening to Chinese citizens within the nation. And that's where I really hope that he will put in some requirements there to help that.
Okay, you mentioned that China is not the Chinese Communist Party, and the Chinese Communist Party likewise is not China, but the Communist Party has violated human rights in China ever since it took power there. Is there anything that the U.S. can actually do to make a difference?
Absolutely. If we feel helpless and powerless, well, then that's the result we will get. But I think President Trump has shown a strong stance in so many areas, and certainly with international trade. But I think they really have to understand how China operates, and that they are an adversary. They are using drug warfare against Americans. So expecting them just to go and change their internal policy on fentanyl or change their policy on Christians is really challenges the fundamental control of the party over the people and the nation. So this is so much bigger than just trade deals. So if the American government is going in there and just saying, we need trade deals, but we want you to be to stop killing and torturing your people, it takes it to another level. And I think that's what the American government needs to do. President Trump needs to take it to another level instead of just saying, okay, let's just barter and forget that there's all this brutality going on. We need to stop forgetting and putting that aside, because that's just been sidelined for far too long.
We saw in the images just there, Kay, that the regime collapsing the Christian churches is just incredible to see. Kay, got about 30 seconds. What are you going to be watching for most closely in that meeting between Trump and Xi?
Understanding, do they understand that China is not the Chinese Communist Party? And can they speak up for the Chinese people and not just for business? That's what we're hoping for.
Kay Rubacek, thank you so much.
Thank you.